I'm Linda Jones and I'm going to show you how to make this lovely patchwork circle bracelet using the Whammer. What you'll need for this project is chain nose pliers, flat nose pliers, round nose pliers, cutters. You'll need a mandrel of some sort. This is a bit of an old curtain pole, but it could be anything, something cylindrical. And for wire you need 0.8 20 gauge and some 0.4 for the binding. And of course you need a block to hammer on and the Whammer. To create each patchwork circle, you can wrap the wire around a mandrel. It depends what size you want to make the circles. You want to make them randomly, different sizes. So I'm just going to start near the top of my ring mandrel and wrap the wire around about 4 times. You can do it a bit more if you want them thicker, or less if you want them thinner. So this can be done wrapping around anything really. But once you've made 3 or 4 coils, cut the wire off from the spool, leaving approximately 5 to 6 inches. Now with this cut end here, you need to wrap that around the rest of the coils. So I'm using my chain nose pliers, but equally you could use your flat nose pliers, and just bring that cut end around all the coils. And then flatten it down and make the end disappear. So now you have all the coils wrapped with a short end and you're left with a longer tail. Now this longer tail can be used to bind all those coils together. Try and keep the binding quite tight. And as you bind, you'll find that the wire work hardens slightly, and it does get a bit tougher because you're manipulating it as you go. So you might need to pull the wire through with your pliers in a minute. You want to use it all up. If you don't have enough, you can always cut some more and bind some more around it. Now it's getting a bit tougher, so I'm going to use my flat nose pliers and pull the wire around. It just makes it a bit easier on the hands. Now I've come to the end and I'm just going to tuck that in and make sure that I haven't got an end sticking out. So there's your bound circle of wire. So each unit will be made like that, and you can make them different sizes, different diameters. Now place your circle on the block, and this is where the Whammer comes into its own. You're going to hammer the outside perimeter of the bound circle. Now you see I start very low on the piece. I don't have to bash it hard at all. I just want to flatten it. And I stroke it out. The motion is stroking the wire outwards. Hammering is very therapeutic. You can sort of do it and get into a rhythm. Now you can see how the wire has spread out flat. There's a little spiky end there, one of the ends came out, so if that happens, just cut that out with your cutters and make sure that you haven't got any sort of anything protruding. And if there's still a little lump or bump, just put it back onto your block and make sure it's flattened out. So there's your base of your unit, and now we're going to weave within that circle. What you need is some 0.4 wire. I'm going to cut about 1 foot or so. And this really is dependent on the diameter of your circle. More if you have a larger circle, less if it's smaller. And start binding using the center of the length just to connect it onto the side, and then just continue by bringing the wire, filling up the center of the circle. And again, this is done in a very random way. You don't have to worry about being neat or even. Just go around and connect the wire every time to the side of the circle. Once you run out of one of the ends, cut it off, and you can see now how it's starting to fill the center of the circle. Now I'm going to continue with the other side, the other half of the wire. You just want to fill this whole central piece. It's a bit like sewing. And I'm nearly now run out of wire. If I wanted to make it a fuller, I could just cut another length and continue weaving in and out. So make sure the ends are completely pushed around the sides. And now the fun begins, making a few nice shapes. So you place it on your bead mat, and with either the tips of your chain nose pliers or the tips of your round nose pliers, you put your pliers down centrally and twist the wire to create little sort of shapes and kinks into the wire, which makes it a little bit more interesting. It also tightens it within the circle. And you keep doing that until you're satisfied with the overall look of the center of your unit. So you can move it around as you wish. When you're happy with the overall shape, you're going to work harden it, just gently, with your whammer. Put that back onto your block, and this time you don't use the steel end of your whammer, you use the nylon head, because the wires are so fine you don't want to bash them and break them. So just stroke it gently, hammer it down with a nylon end, and this will fix them in place, work harden them, and make sure that they are nice and firm. You can do this on both sides. That is now very secure, solid unit. And if you make lots of these units, you can link them up into a lovely chain bracelet like this, or you could create a necklace in the same way. There you have it, big jump rings in between, connecting it all. And if you wanted to infuse a little bit of colour, you could also wire in a bead into the centre of each unit. So have fun making this piece with your whammer.